First Man, let's talk about it. First Man is the latest film from Damien Chazelle, starring Ryan Gosling, Claire Foy, Karen Hines, Pablo Schreiber, Jason Clarke, Kyle Chandler's in it. It's a PG-13 film, and it looks at the life of the astronaut, famous astronaut Neil Armstrong. The legendary mission to the moon, mission to space. But this movie, while it does include that, is very much about Neil Armstrong himself. It is a biopic. It does come from a novel by James Hansen, same name for that. And you'll see elements of Apollo 13 and gravity in this. Stories, of course, about the landing, like I said, but we really take a deep dive into Neil Armstrong himself. We have the mission for NASA, the mission for the United States, the mission for mankind itself, but it's also a discovery of the trajectory of Neil Armstrong and his family as well. Neil is very introverted, he's very shy and very stoic, and Ryan Gosling's portrayal as Neil comes across phenomenally, but there are a couple points more to that I want to make in a moment. The cinematography in this movie is phenomenal. I believe that the last third act of it was shot in IMAX, so I really recommend, if you do see this movie, to try to see it in IMAX just for that third act alone. But the way that some of these scenes are shot are very immersive. You're in the shuttle, you're in the cockpit right there with Neil. It's a held camera sort of style, and you are looking through Neil's eyes. You're looking through the lens of the astronaut himself, and you're hearing the shuttle all around you. You're hearing the fire and the rivets, and you're hearing the explosions and the booms and the creaks and the roars, and it's a calamity, and it's very intense. It's amazing how it's done. And then once you get once you slip the surly bonds of Earth into space, it's silent. It's amazing how it's done. And we know how this movie goes. It's because it is a biopic of Neil. If you know history, you know what happens. But in some of these scenes, in some of these launches, even at the beginning with the X-15 going up and skipping in near-Earth orbit and, you know, re-entry and crashing into the Mojave Desert, you really believe that Neil just might not make it. You really can believe that with some of these. And you have this really claustrophobic effect of being in the pod or in the shuttle, and then you have like the vastness of space. It's a really interesting contrast. And that's sort of a representation of Neil himself. Like I said, he's very stoic, very in his head. And in that way, it's somewhat claustrophobic. And then you have the vastness of life, and, you know, how do you express yourself in that? And that was one of his struggles. He lost a lot of people. This talks about teammates, friends that have died in whether they're missions or in real life. He had a daughter who passed away, and that made him very reserved, I believe. And that was portrayed wonderfully by Ryan Gosling. His wife was Janet Armstrong, and that was Claire Foy, who honestly before this I didn't know much about. And if there's any indication of her acting capability and her performance skill, I absolutely am looking forward to her in The Next Girl Who Kicked the Dragon's Nest. I think that'll be fantastic if she's up to par with this. It's worth it, really. Just, you gotta see this movie, even if it's just for the moon landing scenes. Those are amazing. And once again, this is not a movie like Apollo 13 that was about the journey of NASA, the journey of the United States to getting to space. It's not overcoming those struggles. This is about Neil. So when we get to those, it's very personal to him. Yes, we get, you know, mission control, we get the reaction of the country, we get the press, but this is very much Neil's story. And that comes across. I think Damien Chazelle did a wonderful job with that balance. So with that all being said, there's a couple points I want to make. With Neil himself, because he is so guarded and stoic, and it's hard for him to express himself verbally, and you'll see that quite a bit, it makes him almost hard to like. Like, there's something missing there. There's a disconnect, and it's not Ryan Gosling's acting. He was given his direction, and he just made it out of this earth, to borrow a joke from Janet in the movie. You'll see that there was something more with his. Maybe there's a way, a balance to portray Neil accurately, but not to that point of near dislike. So there's that. And then the other point I want to make is with those action scenes and that held camera style, it helps it feel very authentic. And the muted colors, almost Technicolor, makes it also feel really authentic. It feels like footage from the time. Of course there's CGI, the production crew didn't go to space for this, but it's really hard to tell what's CGI and what's not. Where are those lines? That was fantastic. However, with that held footage, there's a couple scenes, like you're in the home, and I get, you know, that some of those scenes were supposed to be like home VHS footage, you know, you got the handy cam or whatever. But some of the scenes could have benefited from a gimbal, a gyroscope, something more stable. Focused on the face, focus wherever you want, but some stability with those. I think that there was a little bit of overusage with that shaking camera thing. But that really doesn't take much away from the movie itself. I really, really like this. I highly recommend it. If you're at all interested in space exploration, in adventures, in biopics, in Neil Armstrong, in NASA, in the Space Force, in what Elon Musk is doing with SpaceX, this is a movie you have to see. It's up there with Apollo 13, it's up there with Gravity, which was previously, you know, one of the top movies for October in terms of box office production. Highly recommend this movie. I'm giving this movie for you guys a 8.5 out of 10. Phenomenal. Definitely go see this, and when you do, come back here and let me know in the comments what you thought of it, your rating for your feedback, what questions, definitely let me know as well. We do a lot of reviews like this, a lot of content like this. If this is your first time here, definitely hit that subscribe button, be part of this ever-growing JLS Comics family, and you know, if you like this video in particular, there's always that like button too. That'll do it. This has been a review of First Man, and I'm Jesse, and I'll see you in the next video.